Okay, this takes us to our last group of eukaryotic cells that we'll be looking at in this class, our parasitic helminths, which are worms, parasitic worms. These are not microorganisms. They are multicellular animals. They have organs for reproduction, digestion, movement, protection, but they parasitize the host tissues. And to do that, they've got specialized mouth parts that help them attach to the tissue of the host so that they can absorb and digest the tissues. Most of them have pretty well developed sex organs that make eggs and sperm, and their fertilized eggs go through a larval period that's either in or out of the host body. Here we're looking at, on the left over here, figure A, we're looking at a tapeworm. And you can see the scolex, the head, has these specialized mouth parts for attaching to the intestinal wall. And then in figure B over here on the right, we're looking at a fluke. And these have this oral sucker that they use to attach to the wall. But you see we've got the uterus, the ovary, the testes, so they've got these specialized organs for making eggs and sperm. Now, our platyhelminthes are our flatworms. And that, when I say flat, I mean flat like a ribbon, with no body cavity. They just have a blind pouch for their digestive tract. And everything, excretory and nervous systems, are very simple. This would be your tapeworms, your cestodes, and your flukes, your trematodes. They are non-segmented, but they have those suckers for their mouth. And here, the cestode, the tapeworm, and then here on the right is a trematode, your fluke. Now, there's also roundworms or nematodes that are parasitic helminths. They are round, their digestive tract is complete, their mouth has spines or hooks on it, and their excretory and nervous systems are not very well developed. Now, we study parasitic worms because there's about 50 species that parasitize humans, and we find them all over the world. Some of them are going to be found in, a lot of them are found in the tropics because it's such a nice, warm, humid environment for these. The way you get infected with these is because you ingest the larva or the eggs from the soil or water or from food, and then sometimes insects are vectors, and if those insects bite you, you end up with this parasitic worm. It affects they affect billions of humans each year. Now, to look at the life cycle, we have first the fertilized egg, which is the embryo. Then that egg becomes a larva, and then it becomes an adult. And most of the adults get the nutrients and reproduce sexually inside the body of the host. And the way the life cycle is completed is they transmit that infective form to another host. The intermediate host is where the larva develops. The definitive host is where the adults mate. And the transport host, it's not going to have any of the experiences because they're not really going to end up with the parasite. They're just a way to get it from the intermediate to the definitive host. Now, the pinworm is the helminth that affects more. It's our number one helminth that causes infection in the United States. It causes more infection in the United States than any other helminth. And the way you get them is you swallow the microscopic eggs. Not intentionally, but you swallow them. They move to your intestine and they hatch. And they release larvae that then, within a month, they're adult worms. And the males and the females mate. Now, you see this a lot in children. And you can notice they may have a problem because they're itching a lot around their anus, and so they scratch it a lot. That's because the female migrates out of the anus and lays eggs. Um, and so if the child scratches, and then they can reinfect themselves, or they can transfer it to another host. So you see here, she's ingested the eggs, and so she scratches, puts her hands up to her mouth or whatever, and so she reinfects herself, and then this little fella touches her hands, so starts over. Now your concept check here: parasitic helminths reproduce by cyst, spores, eggs and sperm, or all of the above. These are the only ones that have reproduced this way so far: eggs and sperm.